The Women's Championship, eventually becoming known as the Raw Women's Championship. This is a title born from the ashes of the Divas Championship in 2016. The night that this title was born was the night that the women took a huge step in the revolution, shedding the Diva moniker and becoming recognized as strong, serious women. Diva. This was the term used in the 2000s to classify the women's wrestlers in the WWE. In 2008, the Divas Championship was created as a SmackDown counterpart to the then classic Women's Championship defended on Raw. At the time, it was good to get another female title, although in 2008, the portrayal of the women still wasn't the best, and the butterfly design of the Divas Championship was almost more suited to fit with Barbie toys, and not strong, powerful women, which at the time were not represented well. The Divas title was eventually unified with the Classic Women's Championship becoming the only female title on the roster. There were many respectable Divas champions who looked to move the women forward. AJ Lee, Paige, and Nikki Bella, just to name a few. But that offensive term Diva and glitzy belt held back the overall serious approach for the women. However, on one night, a special woman would come in the Divas champion and leave the WWE Women's Champion, and the term Diva would officially be retired. WrestleMania 32 was the night, and Charlotte was the woman to become the first Raw Women's Champion. And that's why today, we are taking a closer look at a legendary moment captured in figure form with Charlotte from Elite Series 54. Hey y'all, welcome to Lumberjillville. Women's Wrestling Lives Here, and welcome to Episode 2 of Figures of the Women's Wrestling Revolution. Now I am super excited to take a closer look at this Elite 54 Charlotte because, truth being told, this might have been my first Women's Elite that I got. This is way before the channel. I saw it on the pegs. This was after WrestleMania 34 when my daughter and I kind of fell in love with Charlotte that night. And I picked it up. And I realized how cool it was and started collecting. So this is a special figure, and it is a very special moment that this represents. Now, I know in the intro, I went back and forth with mentioning the Women's Championship to the Raw Women's Championship. And the reasoning is the Raw Women's Championship, when it was first introduced, was known as the Women's Championship. But eventually later became known as the Raw Women's Championship. So that's why. But with that being said, let's take a closer look at this figure. Elite Series 54 Charlotte, released in 2017. This attire is from WrestleMania 32, which took place on April 3rd, 2016 in Arlington, Texas. On this night, Charlotte Flair defeated Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch in a triple threat match to become the inaugural Raw Women's Champion. So this is an awesome figure, and honestly the best Charlotte up until the Ultimate Edition that was released. Now, mint on card, this figure looks amazing. Unfortunately, I don't have an MOC version of this figure, even though I'd like to hunt one down eventually. But either way, the only thing that I am missing that's got to be somewhere, like I said, this is one of my first Elites, so between the move, who knows where it's at. But she comes with a little backdrop piece of cardboard that goes into a figure stand. Now, obviously, this is Mickie James, but imagine Charlotte in that awesome, I think it's Rob Schamberger art, and then a little stand you can put her on. So it looks awesome, and I'll have to find it. But either way, speaking of accessories, let's take a closer look at what she comes with. So it is a little disappointing that she doesn't come with a Raw Women's Championship because that's what she took home this night. And she even came to the ring as the Divas Champion, and she doesn't come with that title either. So that sucks. That's a little disappointing. However, in my opinion, this robe that she comes with is amazing, and I actually prefer this robe over the Ultimate Edition Charlotte. And the main reason why is this thing is high quality. I mean, it's thick, it's got a lot of detail, it's got a lot of girth to it here. And that robe that comes with the Ultimate Edition Charlotte, I might be in the minority here, but it looks cheap in my opinion. I like that they have the fur on the hood, but it is super, 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 super thin. It's almost like a lingerie robe. So I really am not a huge fan of that robe, and this one I much prefer. So as you can see, it fastens here in a little Velcro clasp in the front. Now this figure has been around for a while in my collection, so mine doesn't stick as well in the front, but it holds okay. Her arm sleeves kind of hang down a little bit so you can put her arms out. And to take it off, it is super easy. You just unfasten it there, slide one arm, slide the other, slide back and forth here. It's the funnest part of the video, huh? Okay, and then on the back, you can see there's a Flair in text there in silver. And throughout the robe, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's got this metallic type shine or sheen to it. And then there's little intricate silver studs painted throughout. And on the reverse side, on the underside, there's a bunch of little silver studs. It's kind of hard to see on camera here. But like I said, this is a multi-layered robe, and the quality is there. I mean, it is an excellent robe, and this is my favorite robe that comes with a Charlotte. So, yeah, I love this accessory. I just wish she would have came with a Raw Women's title. But let's take a closer look at the figure now. So the funny thing about her scan is I thought this was an amazing and excellent scan of Charlotte up until the point that I got her Ultimate Edition, because that Ultimate Edition scan is amazing. I mean, it is spot on, one of the best I've seen. And after we got that, I don't see Charlotte as much in this scan. Now, this is before TrueFX face scan technology, so it's all good. And it is important to note that that Ultimate Charlotte does come with an extra head, so if it really bothers you, you can just pop this off and put on the Ultimate head, and there we go. But I'm going to keep this figure as is because I think it is cool. And I do like the inclusion of her birthmark on her face. Let's get the focus. And also the decal over her left eye. The little silver decals that she wore. I think that's neat. And also, I think the hair sculpt and mold in color is all great. So like I said, I think it works just fine. I think it's good. But when you compare it to the Ultimate, oh man, it's hard to see Charlotte in the face here after you see that Ultimate scan. But let's move on down to the attire. So moving on down to her attire, they do an excellent job with their attention to detail. Now the first thing you'll notice is she does have her tattoos, and they are partial to simulate that her top is kind of overlapping them. We've got a heart on her left wrist, and on the right it should say, yep, a little patience. Now this top, what's cool about it is a molded piece. Even this little angular piece here is molded on. And the painting detail on it is super intricate and highly detailed, with little silver studs, silver design, and then little black accents throughout. The strap in the back is also molded, it's important to note. And moving to her lower half here, this is just a painted on bottom, but they do an excellent job once again with that intricate paint design. And it is important to note that her upper thigh actually matches her lower thigh, and that's something we started seeing with the most recent elites. I remember mostly with the Alexa Bliss Elite, that they tend to use black as the undercolor and then try to paint it skin tone, and these two colors tend not to match up, but this matches up nicely, so that's good. And she has just plain black knee pads with black boots and black kick pads, but yeah, they do an excellent job on the attire in my opinion, and it really simulates that night perfectly. Now something fun I wanted to do is do a comparison with this and her Ultimate Edition figure. So do you kind of see what I mean when you compare the Ultimate on the left to the Elite 54 on the right, that once you have that Ultimate in hand, it's hard to see the resemblance to Charlotte in that Elite in my opinion. Now it is important to note the biggest difference here in that face and head sculpt is this Elite 54, the head is huge compared to that Ultimate Edition, so I don't really understand that one there, but it looks a lot more cartoony than the more realistic Ultimate Edition. Now, before we talk about the attire here, I am going to show you the robes because I actually do prefer this Elite 54 robe. It is very thick, it is multi-layered, has a lot of detail, has a shine to it. And then the Ultimate Edition robe, I mean, this thing is like tissue paper thin. It's hard to show up on the camera, it's such a unique color pink. Now, it is nice they have this little fur here. I think that's a cool addition, but overall, in my opinion, this robe quality is kind of crappy. I mean, this is like almost see-through. It's so thin. So yeah, I do prefer the Elite 54 robe over the Ultimate Edition. But just looking at the figures, I think the face scan, it's obviously Ultimate Edition wins here. Now, moving on down to the attires, I think they do an excellent job with this Elite's attire. But this Ultimate Edition's attire, I mean, it has the colors fading, it has a lot of intricate paint detail, and she does have her tattoos all included. Now, also, she has these awesome knee pads that fade, and then her boots have the CF on the side. However, I am going to say with that extra articulation you get with the Ultimates, you're going to come across issues like this. I think this foot joint is so stupid. I don't see the point of it, and every Ultimate woman I've got has a loose foot joint here. So I understand it's for posability, but for me it's just dumb. Not a big fan. So yeah, they are both excellent figures in my opinion. And here's one last look at Elite Series 54 Charlotte. So I know in my first episode of Figures of the Women's Revolution, I didn't give that Bailey a figure score, and I did that on purpose. And same goes with this figure. The point of the series is to highlight, give you an up-close look at the figure, but also explain the historical significance to how it helped the women grow and develop in the grand scheme of things. So maybe at the end of the season, after 6 to 8 episodes, I'll do a score and ranking of all the figures just to have some fun. But yeah, that's why I'm not giving these scores. But you could probably make your own assessment based on the up-close look at it. But either way, you can't take away the historical significance of this Elite 54 Charlotte. And if you're going to display her, I would display her without her robe with that Raw Women's Championship to signify that night at WrestleMania 32. But with that being said, thanks for stopping by Lumberjillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, and join the community. Have a good night, y'all.